Okay. Uh, as some of you may know, I use a product called DesignSpark Mechanical. It's a computer-aided design program, and it's specifically geared toward 3D printing. Uh, it is very, very capable, and it's a lot easier to use than Fusion 360. I'll tell you that right now. So what we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through a simple project. I went ahead and designed this project this morning. Uh, and I'm just gonna walk you through. I've got a bunch of measurements here. We're gonna make a phone case for a Samsung J3 Orbit phone. Very popular phone. Uh, we have a house guest that has one, and he had to buy a new phone, so he bought a J3, and then he needed a case for it. And I told him, let me design one, and we'll see if we can't save you some money. So I'm going to start sharing my screen, and you're going to see the finished project that's on the printer right now. Actually, it's sitting right there. It's done printing. So let's pull it off the printer. This is printed on my Ender 5. As you can see, it's got a magnetic build surface. I'm still not crazy about the build surface, but it seems to be working okay. Time will tell. I have yet to have a bad print on this print surface. So far, it has been perfect. The bed leveling on this machine is great. And I'm using, currently, I'm using Maker Geek's Crystal Series PLA. And I print that at 235 degrees because that's what they say on the spool, and it seems to print okay. And if I print much lower, if I print this filament much lower than that, then it tends not to do well. So we're going to take this off the build plate. Just got to be careful here not to crease it. And this is a lot safer than using a scraper or what have you. And of course, in Ender 5, the stepper motors run in burst. So for those of you that aren't familiar with an Ender 5, so we had to modify our starting G code and what have you to put in the slicer to put the purge line between the nozzle at the front, because the machine by default hinges back in this corner. So in the back left corner for those of you. And so, but so far this has been a great print surface. I do have a Creality glass to put on it if I need to, but so far I haven't needed to. It's been great. So let's put this back on. The only thing I don't like about this the print surface is the magnet. The lining it back up when you're putting it back on. There's not an easy way to do that. I may design something that we can put under the back of the bed that sticks up, so you can just put the edge on it and then just let it fall. And that would be, I think that might be an interesting design. I'm trying to design one thing a day to get good at designing. Sometimes I make it, sometimes I don't. So here's the phone case. And as you can see, I actually have minimal stringing, just very, 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 very little stringing. I'm surprised because this filament is typically kind of stringy. And what I seem to have is just a couple of little loose remnants from, I have an edge, and you'll see that here in a moment, that I had to build. underneath. It's a little slight overhang on the edge, and I'm just trying to catch this one little thread of filament under my nail. There we are. And follow it around. There we go. All right. Now, actually, this print came out really nice. So this is translucent red Maker Geeks PLA. Got a couple of little bitty things to clean up here with my deburring tool, if I can find it. There it is. And that's about it. I mean, the rest of it is pretty darn nice on the Ender 5. This printer has been terrific. Now you can see this little orange thing sticking out. That was a design that I did the other night because it's real easy to pull the cord out of the front of the machine, and if you're using Octoprint, of course, it destroys your print. So I decided to go ahead and make something to keep that from happening, and so I designed one of these little things to keep the cord in. All right, now, so we have a phone case, and I'm pretty sure this is probably going to be pretty dead on. You know, interestingly, when you're doing design, I found that you end up, so like for example, Dennis has a phone case that I printed last night on his phone that just needed some slight tweaking, which is why I went ahead and did this one. So, but these are two others that I did that didn't quite come out as good as I wanted them to. The openings weren't quite in the right places. So one of the things I found out that is, as you're doing design, you know, you're going to print several of your designs. So like, for example, my little USB clip there that I printed, I printed one that is useful, and then I printed the one that I'm using. I actually made another little modification in the side so I can have a little place to put my finger, a little indentation to make it easier to pull out. But you end up with several prints per design. Okay, so you can see that. So typically I'm seeing 3 to 5 test prints doing designs, because you know, sometimes you'll design something and it just doesn't come out the way you want it to, and so you just say, you know, I want to tweak this, or maybe you get a better idea. So in the case of the phone case, I've actually done, I believe this is going to be the last one. This is going to be the final one. So hopefully it'll be. If not, I'll print it again. I got filament there on the spool. You can see it. I tend to use the Maker Geeks filament that I got in the Geek Box when I was subscribed to the Geek Box as test print filament, because I just don't like the way it prints. So I'd rather use junk filament for my test prints that I'm going to just throw out, as opposed to. But Dennis wanted a red case, and this is the only red I had. So, and I don't have I have a printer that'll do 3mm filament that I have a spool of red, but right now that printer's not working. So, so anyhow, let's get into the design of the phone case. Now, I'm gonna switch screens here so you can see, and you'll see the finished case right here on the screen. And so this is the finished case, and as I started to say, this is the overhang that I had to do. If there's a little overhang right here. So just to make things nicer, make the phone fit a little more snug. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and I'm going to recreate this for you on video so that you can see how to do some of the things in DesignSpark Mechanical that aren't particularly obvious. So, and I may show you a couple of other features that are pretty interesting, just because I can. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and start. We're going to start a new design. And so we go up here to the menu, select new design, and then we're presented with a plane, a surface, a sketching surface. And this surface actually changes dimension as you sketch. So right now it is set to 60 by 60 millimeters. And each of these divisions here is 1 millimeter. And every place where there's a little bit thicker line, that's 10 millimeters. So, and then depending on how big your sketch is, it makes that sketch plane larger. Okay. Now, to start out, we have some measurements. So the phone itself is 70.5 by 143.5 millimeters. So that's what we're going to start with. So now what we're going to do, we're in the sketch plane right now, but what we want to do is we want to present that to us face up so that we can tell. I mean, we can sketch on it right now and count things and what have you, but it's a lot easier if it's face up. So to do that, to get into the sketch plane, if you're in 3D mode, to get into the sketch plane, hit a K on the keyboard. That puts you into sketch mode. Now to see the sketch mode face up, you just hit the V and it tilts it up so that you can see it head on, straight on. Now we're ready to sketch. So what we're going to do is first we're going to draw a rectangle of the dimensions of the phone plus what we want for the thickness of the wall. So in DesignSpark, this is real easy to do. So the phone itself measures 70.5 by 143.5. So let's go ahead and we're going to go up here and we're going to select a rectangle. You can hit R on the keyboard. And we're just going to, I like to start on a 10 line division. And so we're just going to draw a little square so we can get our text entry boxes up. And so we want a phone, a rectangle that is 143 long. Whoops, 143.5, which is the internal measurement of the phone. And then, because DesignSpark is a parametric modeler, very much like 3D Fusion 360, we can do some calculations in our measurements. Okay, so the phone itself is 143.5 millimeters long. And then now, if we just draw a rectangle, the phone will fit in there. This is going to be our inside dimension of the case. 143.5 by whatever the outside, by 70.5 for the wide. But then we also have to allow for the outside dimensions, the thickness of the wall of the case to protect the phone. So how you do that in DesignSpark is you choose the inside dimension, 143.5 millimeters plus, and let's say we want to make this case 1.6 millimeters. Just to be different, 1.6 instead of 1.5. We don't want it to be even. Okay. So that's going to do that. And then we're going to tab up to the other dimension, and we're going to tell that we want 70.5 plus 1.6 millimeters. And so that is going to make our sketch. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click off of here to save that and then hit escape because we don't want to make another sketch accidentally. And then we are going to hit the H button for home. And now we can see the entire sketch. And we can see that the sketch plane itself has elongated and gotten a little bit wider to allow us more area. Now, and there's much greater sketch area out there. You can do big sketches on this. So it's very, very flexible. All right, so now we have some things that we need to do to this sketch to make our life easier further down the road in the model. Now, there are several different ways that you can do this as you're developing your design. Okay, like for example, one way would be to extrude this rectangle, and once you've extruded it, then you can make modifications to the rectangle itself. Okay, that's reasonable. So in this case, we need a rectangle that's 100. So in this case, we have a rectangle, I'm sorry, that is, let's see, let me see if I can get some dimensions here. Yeah. So we have 145.1 by 72.1. So that is our dimensions for the outside of our case. Now, how I got there to get these dimensions is DesignSpark has a dimensioning tool that will show you the dimensions, and you just put it on the plane and then you click on the lines, and it will give you the dimensions of the sketch. So, and it will allow you to move these things back and forth and up and around, so you can have it. You can basically create some annotations for your drawings to do what you need to do. So, and you can turn that off. So what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and turn that off up here in the project panel. We just click on this check mark, and then that goes away. But we may want that at a different point, and so we'll just keep it handy. Now, we also need this rectangle to be 10.3. The dimensions of the phone are 10.3 millimeters thick. And then, of course, we have top and bottom. So now you say, well, wait a minute, now we don't have a top. Yes, we actually do have a top. It's the edge around the case, because if you don't have an edge, the phone will fall out. And so we want that edge to have a little bit of substance. So once again, we have a bottom that's 1.6 millimeters thick, just like the rest of the case. And then we're going to have that top edge 1.6 millimeters. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is we have a cutout in the case. I'm going to switch over to this other design to show you. So we have this cutout in the case for the camera, and then we have some cutouts for buttons on the side and a speaker and volume buttons. And then down here we have a little hole for a microphone, and then the charging port, and then headphone jack. So that's what this cutout is for. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and switch back to our design that we're building, and those are the things that we are going to add to the sketch to make things easier. Now, I have the measurements here. I've measured the phone, and I've got them written down. And so the first thing that we need to do is we need to measure. We need to put some lines on the sketch. So some construction lines, just to guide us. So I'm going to go to a V, and I'm going to go down here to, this is the axis rotation. I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. And then That way I can get at the parts of the sketch that I need to get at for the construction lines. Now, the only thing that I don't like about this product is it doesn't allow you to pan the whole sketch area. It kind of constrains you. Like, so for example, if the sketch will fit completely on the plane in the window, I don't have a scroll bar here, so I can move it to where I want to do something down here. So what you do is you scroll it, you zoom in on it really big, and then, let's see, you can scroll this region and give yourself a little bit of edge. So what we've got here is we've got, let's see, starting at, I got to find the demarcation here for the 10 line. So here's 10, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're at the 17 line there. So this is the actual 10 line here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a construction line here on the 10 just to help us. And the construction line right here is down in the corner. It's a little dash line up here on the menu. And so what we're going to do is we're going to draw a construction line down like this. And that's going to give us a line that we can use as a reference. So that's our first division of 10. So we know if we start from here and we go to each division of 10, we add 3 to get the final measurement. So for example, if we put a line here, we subtract 3 from the top, and that's 7. So it's 7 from here to here. And so it's just an easy way to keep track of things. Little tips. I'm going to give you little tips to figure this kind of stuff out. All right. So now our first measurement is 20 by 55, 20 by 50. So that the buttons are in a space that starts 20 from the inner edge. But now what we don't have here is we don't have a shell, is what we don't have. And so we have to keep track of that. And since the shell is 1.6 millimeters thick, I'm going to count from, I'm going to put a construction line here. Now this is 2 millimeters in, so it's going to be 4/10 of a millimeter short. Okay, so, and then I'm just going to go down here and I'm going to make it perpendicular to the other line. And then, so that's the first one. And then we're going to measure from here. So this is going to be 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So this is 5 to 5, 10, 20. So our first construction line that we're going to use is going to go here. The second construction line that we're going to use is going to go 20, 30, 40, 50. Whoops. I lost my line. So we're at 20, 30, 40, 50. I'm going to put another construction line there. All right. So that gives us our line length that we want to use for our total length of our cutouts. Okay. Now, those two cutouts are each 15 millimeters long. And so what we're going to do is they start at 15 and go to 30. And let's see here. Let me look at something real quick. Did I kill them off of that other design? No, I didn't. Okay. So on this design, you can see this is where I did my construction lines on the sketch. Now, like I said, we didn't have a shell, so it's kind of a rough guess as to where we are. So let me just do a measurement here. I'm going to highlight that line, and then I'm going to hold the control key and highlight that surface. And I'm going to go up here and I'm going to say measure the distance, and the minimum distance between the objects is 14.487. Okay. So let's go back here to the other object, the other design, and see where we are. Now, that was the inside edge. So we have 14 point, whatever it was, here to here. .4874. All right. Oh, actually, let's see. Let's go down to this one. I don't want it to be confused. Okay, now let's go to that one, that one. So 14.4874. All right. So now this surface to this surface is 1.6 millimeters. So we have to be careful when we're measuring to take that into consideration. So let's kill that and go back here to the design. So this rectangle is, so this rectangle, this line right here should be here, here, here. So that's 17, and that may be too much. So but we'll adjust it. Let's do that. That'll give us an opportunity to show, and let's kill that construction line. So the first, so we have our first area here, and let's just move forward. I'm gonna kill these lines off. We're gonna do another one. So the very first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna shell this to make things easier. But in order to do that, we have to put the camera cutout in. So I'm gonna switch it back up to 90 degrees, and I'm gonna home it, and I'm gonna view it. And so now here we have our sketch. And one of the interesting things for DesignSpark is when you highlight a line, I'm going to go ahead and select here. And you highlight a line, that turns off the measurement tool. You get a little triangle right where the center of the line is going to be. Okay, so we're going to use that. We're going to draw a construction line. And I know that the camera is 12, it's down 12 millimeters from the inside edge. On the phone, it's 12 millimeters. So once again, we can use our parametrics, and we can say we want a construction line that is 12 plus 1.6 millimeters. And that's going to give us a line 13.6 millimeters. So that's the edge of the top part of the camera. Okay. Now, the camera itself is also uh, in the middle of the phone. And from here, it is 36.05 millimeters. That's the top of the center of the camera. Now the camera is 12 millimeters wide, and so we want to draw a rectangle starting here and going 6 millimeters, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's our 12. And then we want the height of the camera is 18. So we're going to come down here to 18, and we're going to tell it that is 18.0. All right. So that gives us 12 by 18 for our. We're going to click over there and hit escape. Now we can get rid of our construction lines, because we don't need these lines anymore. Now we have a rectangle for the camera. So now we are ready to shell, because if we shell without that, then we'd have to draw into the sketch and things like that. So we're going to hit D for 3D mode, and we're going to go ahead and hit the H key for home. And now we know that this case is going to need to be at least 10.3 millimeters thick, because we have 10.3 for the phone, plus 2 1.6 millimeter top and bottom. So that's going to be 12 point, let's see, 1.6, 3, we'll get there. We're going to let DesignSpark do the math anyway. So from here, once you're in three-dimensional mode, 3D mode, the pull tool becomes active up here, and you can hit P on the keyboard to get to the pull tool. And then you'll see there's a little arrow here. Now, the default colors make the arrow yellow as the same color as the surface, in this case, when you're going to pull it. So we're going to go ahead and pull this up, and we're going to say 1.6 for the bottom, plus 10.3 for the phone, plus 1.6 for the top. And that's how many millimeters we're going to get. And we go that, and there we are. Now you can see from this sketch that if we measure this line right here, we have 13.5 millimeters. So that's the thickness that we need the case, based on the math that we put in based on our measurements of the phone. Now, to make our lives a little easier, at this point, we are going to do some tweaking of this rectangle to handle making the shell easier to make. So we're gonna click on, and using the control key, swivel around. Don't press the control key when you're using your mouse to scroll the button. You press to scroll the shape. Just press on the scroll wheel, and then you can scroll your mouse. And so hit the control key, select it, hit the control key, select it. So now we have all 4 corners of the rectangle highlighted. And on one of them, usually it's the first one, we have an arrow. Oh, we don't have a pull tool selected. So you're going to select the pull tool. And so here's the arrow right here. Now, this is going to allow us to make some radius or tampers or do whatever we want to this edge. So in this case, we're going to choose a rounded corner right here. And then we are going to push this to make a radius. And the radius of that phone is actually 8.4 on the corners. So if we do that, all of the corners, as you see in the drawing, become radiused at that amount. Okay. Now, this shape right here, we need to get rid of. We don't need that. So we can just highlight it. It turns red. We hit the delete button. Now it's gone. That's a hole through the case. So we don't need that hole. We don't need that shape anymore. Now, what we do here is we highlight the inside corners. Click one. Find the other one. Hit the control key. Click that one. Find one. Click the control key. Click that one. Find the other one. Click the control key. Find that one. Now we can also do the same thing here with the corners, and I'm going to set the same radii to this, 8.4. And what that does is that gives us the exact shape of the camera opening on the back of the camera. Okay, so now let's hit the home key. Now we're ready to shell this shape and give us the dimensions for the case. So we're going to go up here to the shell button and click that. And it gives us instructions up here. Click the face to be used for shell. Click the body of the structure to create a shell without removing a face. Now, I've done this on this shape. If you click the body over here in the project pane and it selects the whole body like that, and you give it a dimension down here for the shell, in this case it's going to be 1.6. When you click on this check mark, it's going to make a shell inside of that shape that you're not going to be able to get at. Well, not easily. You can get at it. But I just want you to be sure to understand, don't do the whole project, the whole shape in here by clicking on this button if you don't need to. All right, so we're going to click on a face. Actually, we're going to go ahead and escape out of this mode and then get back in. So now we're going to click on a face for the shell. It's not cooperating with me, and I think it may be confused because of the other selection. So let's go ahead and do that and then say shell. Isn't that funny? All right, so go here, no. Click the face to remove the, okay, so we're going to click there. And it should be giving us a prompt here. All right. So let's go to the pole. And I'm gonna move it down 2 millimeters. And then I'm gonna move it up 2 millimeters. See if that changes the mode. So now we'll click on the shell button. What is that? All right. When in doubt, do a Control Z. Whoa, where the heck did that go? All right, so now this is before we went to do the shell. This is before we did the radius of, so we're going to go here and we're going to say 8.4, and that's going to do that. Okay, now we're going to do home. Now we're going to do the shell. So now we're back out. Shell. Click on the face to be used for the shell. All right. So now here's what we got. Here's the face, and it did 1 millimeter because we didn't change the 1 millimeter. So we're going to change that now, 1.6 millimeter. And now you can see that the shape is 1.6 millimeters. Then go ahead and hit the checkbox, and that will complete the shell. So we must have shelled the inside of the other shape by accident. Now, and that's probably how I did it the last time. Now, this is a feature that's in DesignSpark that is very, very useful. So you can highlight an edge with the pool tool, and you get a little menu here. This adds material, this removes material, this deletes the edge. This is a ruler. Haven't figured out quite what to do with that yet. But this one is very useful. It's the up to button. So you have the up to button there, and you also have the up to button right here. So the up to button, if you click on the edge, you get the menu. You click on the up to button, and you can say, okay, move that selected area up to this surface. So if we click here, it's going to take that down to that surface. And now we have a hole with the shell, and we're ready to move on. Now, the rest of this is just punching holes through the flat spots. So now the other issue that was a little confusing about making a phone case was the overhang edge right here. Now, here's the easy way to do that. Easy way to do that is highlight the edge, click, and double click it rather. And now it highlights that whole inside edge. Now, once again, you see we have a menu here that we can use, which is also over here. And so we're going to say extrude the edge. So we're going to extrude the edge, and you see you can go in two directions. You can go up or you can go in. And so in this case, we're going to go in, and we know that the phone, that we need an edge that's going to be 1.6 millimeters. So, but now the phone may not fit 1.6, but we know we need it 1.6 deep. So what we're going to do is we're going to go 1 millimeter. So if you just start moving in, then you get your text box that you can type your measurement in. So we're just going to say 1 millimeter, and that's going to bring the edge inside the rectangle in by 1 millimeter. Now, the question becomes, okay, now we have to pull that down by 1.6 millimeters. How do you get to it? Well, you get to it through the camera hole. Now, what you do is you go out here and you zoom in and you find that edge. Now, right now, if you just highlight it here, that edge is just on that side. So you got to double click it. Now it turns a different color, and you'll see if you zoom out, it's all selected. All right. And then what you want to do is you want to go down here, you want to hit the add button, and then go back in here, grab that edge and pull it down with the pull tool selected, and you want that to be 1.6 millimeters. And that gives us a 1.6 millimeter edge all the way around the inside of our rectangle. Okay. Now, so that's the hardest part. The rest of it is just drawing on the faces for the cutouts. So, like for example, if we go here and we go into sketch mode and go here, we know that from this line right here, that our hole starts on this edge at 20 millimeters. And I can tell from the grid here, here's the center line. So let's just draw a rectangle for the hole from 20. Actually, that's not 20. So we're going to go, there's 10, there's 20, 22. So we're going to go right from here. And this is going to be 50 millimeters long. So we'll go right there. So 6 millimeters wide, 50 millimeters long. Go ahead and kill that. So now we have a rectangle on the side of our phone case. Now, if we go back to D for design mode, we have a place for a hole for the volume buttons. And if you go into the pull mode, you'll see that it gets highlighted and you can just push it through, and now we have a hole in the case. So this is very easy to use, very easy to do, and you just have a couple of more holes to do. The ones that were over here that we were going to draw the construction lines for, same thing. They start at 20 from the edge. Now let me show you an interesting feature that makes things easy. So here in DesignSpark, we have a feature called project. So if we say project, it's going to ask us to select the face of the projection to send to the other side. So I'm going to select this face, and I'm going to tell it to put it on this side. So in this case, we're going to select this face, and we're going to say project it to this edge. And now you can see, oops, I got to do that again, select the edge, and then hit the check mark. So now you can see you have another projection right here. Okay, now that's another place where you can punch a hole, but we don't want to punch a hole there yet because we have some other measurements to make. So in this case, we're going to hit the K to go into sketch mode. And we are currently in the sketch mode. And here is our cutout. Now we need this button to be 15 long. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw another rectangle, and we're going to start it here at 20, and we're going to go 15. So that's 15 by 6, and then we have another 15. So we're going to start here, and we're going to go. Let's see. Oops. Right there. All right, now. So there we go, 15 by 15. So here we have 20, and 15 is 35. And then the other button goes from 40 to 15 longer, 55. So there we have our two buttons that we can use to knock out. So now if we go back into design mode with the D, we see we have a button here that we can pull out. Let's go into pull mode. And another button here. And then this shape here we can get rid of. We go to the select tool and we say select that, kill it, kill it, kill it. Oop, don't want to kill that. Kill it. it. So now we fill all the extra lines that we had. And we have our shape, our places in the buttons where we need. Now, the only other place here is the body where we need to make a cutout for the battery charger cables and what have you. So, and that part is pretty easy to do. All we do is go back here, we go into the sketch, A, V, and then I'm going to tilt this a little bit so I can see, get a little bit of aspect here. And I'm going to go from here to here. And so I'm going to draw a rectangle on the grid. Rectangle on the grid, and I'm going to go down to there. Actually, I'm going to go up a little bit. So that gives us a rectangle. Go to D, and from this place, we can just go ahead and push that through. Now it's a hole. Now, you say, okay, it's a little thick here. Yes, it is. Could leave it like that. It's not a problem. But if you wanted it, let's say flat for whatever reason, so I mean, it's not much of an edge there. But if you wanted to, you could just highlight this edge in pull mode, go to the up to tool and bring it down here, and it will flatten it out to there. So now the only thing that's left on this design is to round all the corners. And you saw how to do that. You just highlight the edge and you tell it to round the corners, and away you go. So I'm going to close out this video now, and if you followed along doing this, you can certainly do that. And we're going to hit home. Now, when you want to print this course, make sure you save it. So we're going to go File, Save, and if you haven't saved it the first time, if it's just the default design name, we're going to say Phone Case Tutorial. And then when you want to 3D print this, you get your design all done, you get your corners all rounded, what have you. You can then export that. And here are the export options. Now you can send this drawing directly to Cura if you use Cura. And it will put it onto the build plate for the printer that you have selected in Cura, ready to go. It works. I like to save out to an STL file. So I'll say 3D print the STL file, phone case tutorial STL, save it, and that gets saved in the location where I want, so I can print it at my leisure instead of having to print it now. But if you want to print it now, you can just export it to Cura and it'll be fine. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing the desktop and get back to the camera and just say thank you so much for watching. I am Ben Brady, the 3D Printing Texan.